Hello,
Wow.
everybody.
Wow. Welcome to day two
Us.
of the School Transportation Nation podcast. We were just treated to an absolutely amazing orange martini by our in-house events team and slash bartender, Samantha
Sam's got to have some
Geierman.
muscles. She's like,
I'm telling you, that drink, I was like, it made me thirsty looking at it. It was insanely good. That's how you want to start out a podcast, with a fresh squeezed orange juice Tito martini. I mean, goodness, that is a great way to lock out your day. And we had a great day, Ryan, here on the podcast. And STN EXPO Virtual did not disappoint. Again, I'm Tony Corpin, publisher and president of STN, and this podcast is brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, and our friends at Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management. And I also have Mr. Ryan Gray, chief of content. He is directing traffic here at STN EXPO. You're doing a great job, Ryan. Tell me, big takeaways from today, big feel.
oh boy, there was a lot there on the plate. Certainly a lot of the legalities of vaccines. Really got a primer on questions that you need to be asking of your legal team at your district or your company. Really brushing up on some federal law and finding out like what the requirements are. Are there requirements? Also, too, I mean, we can't forget the keynote speaker, Ryan Avery. I was just actually hosting his Let's Talk chat session just a moment ago. Always just delivers, man. The guy is just, he's insanely good. So that's always fun. And I think that, one of the things that we're trying to do is, I keep saying this over and over again. I was thinking of what Ryan was just talking about, and finding the opportunity in things. And just today, COVID, I should say, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, came out with new guidance. Right? They've been coming out with guidance, and it's been changing for now, 9-10 months. So now. It speaks right to why we're all here, why we're here trying to get better and learn and roll with the punches, figure out how we can anticipate things. Basically, CDC came out today in an article that was published on the JAMA network that essentially reopen schools, close in-person dining. That's kind of the takeaway. That was the New York Times opening lead. A little bit earlier this afternoon. We have that article. We're working on that. And in fact, I think, Tony, we have a special guest, don't we? We
do have one special guest, Associate Editor Taylor Hannon.
It's on cue.
Hello.
Taylor's been lurking in the shadows, following the many sessions that we've been covering. So definitely, Taylor. Glad to have you here.
So Taylor, was talking about the CDC, this latest article that they published. Tell us a little bit more about that, because it's all about reopening school. It sounds like there's been all these, I was just mentioning, there's been all these, about faces, and the direction's been changing. Now it sounds like they're saying, hey, everybody go for it.
Yeah, and I'm slowly getting deep into the research here, but basically it seems like the CDC is saying that there's just not a lot of transmission in schools. And this is something that I think we've been reporting on a lot. What is the risk, especially on school buses? And the CDC is saying, based off research and based off other states that have been open, that they're not seeing a big spread event in schools. And of course, we've seen it in, facilities, meat and packaging facilities. We've seen it in childcare, but it's not what we're seeing in schools.
Yeah, so I think that what the conversation has been is that the concern or the anxiety continues to still be the older, more medically susceptible, health susceptible people tends to be a lot of school bus drivers. So that's what I think that really brought back to roost the vaccine general session we did earlier today. But it's encouraging. I think we've all been hoping and keeping our fingers crossed that we are going to get back to school, because the CDC guidance, if you will, or this article that they wrote, it doesn't mention transportation, correct, Taylor? But
no,
what we know though is that if we're now getting a big push to try to get school back in session, that's definitely going to affect us.
And what I did mention, Ryan,
Taylor, was the headline. It said something about precautions, right? Did I read that?
That's that because there's not a big super spreader event is because the United States, different states are taking these precautions, wearing masks, they're social distancing, and they're putting that in place. And so I was like reading one study in somewhere in a different country, and they weren't taking those precautions, and which is why they had a big transmission event. So I think that's what the CDC's big idea was, is that you can open schools safely and you can do it without a risk of spreading the virus.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, it says right here, they close their article by saying decisions made today can help ensure safe operation of schools and provide critical services to children and adolescents in the U.S. But these decisions are going to be difficult. They need to restricting indoor dining at restaurants, anywhere where the transmission of SARS-CoV-2 incidence is high, school-based policies to postpone school-related activities that can increase risk of in-school transmissions. I saw something about no pizza parties, no indoor pizza parties. Obviously, the school bus is inside, it's an interior space. We had a session on, I believe that's tomorrow, on ventilation systems. So that's become a big one. Definitely the conversation continues to be, how do we continue but do it safely? So it's not, it's not that, oh yeah, schools are going to open tomorrow. Hey, let's go ahead and throw our masks away. We're definitely seem to be in this COVID reality for a while. A little disheartening. Katie Anderson, our legal eagle, earlier today in the vaccine general session, said that a CNN podcast with Dr. Sanjay Gupta that she listens to every day, that kind of really breaks down a lot of the science on COVID-19 and the vaccine and whatnot. He said that if everything continues the way it's going right now, we don't have any new vaccine candidates that are approved, and the current level of the rollout remains the same, that we are essentially going to remain in this cycle till March 2022. So for another year, another 14 months. So hopefully it's not that long, but we know that that's, what we're trying to, keep the course. And at least I'm taking it as a positive that the conversation is, hey, we need to get back. Let's figure out the safest, the best way to do that. And certainly transportation is a vital element of that.
Hey, Ryan, I want to take an opportunity and give a shout out to our title sponsor, Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management. If you guys were around on Monday, we kicked it off with the COO, Michael Gould from Zonar, and he broke down a great keynote kind of on top 3 opportunities. If you haven't seen that keynote, you can go into the Hop-In platform and watch that in the trade show. But for those of you that maybe aren't at STN EXPO Virtual, you can actually find that on the STN EXPO Virtual.com website. You can watch a replay of that. So a little treat for all our listeners to go check out that keynote speech by Mr. Michael Gould. Also, Zonar broke down a great session today about the shops, reimagining them, and that is also up on the website. So please check them out. Stop by their booth, chat with them, ask questions. You can also stop by their website at zonarsystems.com to learn more. So Ryan, I want to just dive in. Ryan Avery, I mean, he was like just stellar today. We just ended with a let's talk discussion and, a great challenge he threw down for the end of the day. We all have somebody we know that's like just maybe they're just a bit negative in our life. That could be a family member, that could be a coworker. So Ryan basically said, hey, find 3 people that you probably shouldn't talk to anymore, and find 3 people that you should talk to more, that support your dreams and that promote you to innovate as a person. Don't imitate, innovate. So I think that there's a lot of wisdom in those words. And I want to share that with all our listeners of the School Transportation Nation. COVID has thrown us a curveball. It has been unlike anything else we've ever seen. And now is the time. And parents, we heard today, are more forgiving and understanding than ever. And I believe that now is the time to make transformational change within your organization and operation, because nobody likes the word change, right? They can adapt, and it's a lot easier, as Ryan said, right? It's easier to adapt than to change, because nobody likes change. But I think in this situation, people are a lot more forgiving about everything. And if you want to try something new in your operation, now's the time. So definitely, I've taken up that challenge, Ryan. If you hear me and you're on this podcast, I got you, man. So I'm going to look inward and find out 3 people that I want to talk to more, and that are going to inspire me to adapt. So I appreciate those words of wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah. He had a just, the guy's gold. He just has so many nuggets that he gives people. So certainly, I jotted a few of them down. I'll say I won't. It's actually a very good one. The one that he started with, clap, which is, we're in this virtual environment. Things that I have to remind myself constantly of. Content, of course. That's what I do every day. Lighting, audio, presentation. So he calls it clap. Whether it's an in-person meeting, you're going on a Zoom call, you're going into a virtual conference like this. But he gave us a 10-10-10 list, talking about, when leaders go through chaos and uncertainty and change, that dreaded bad word. An important distinction between a leader and the leader is a leader imitates, the leader innovates. Certainly what we're trying to do with this, with these virtual events. Also, too, he talked about something that he and his team do, and he challenged everyone in the industry. 10 companies, 10 organizations, whatever, 10 companies that are the and will be the in the future. So again, we look at, like, there's so many examples of this, Tony and Taylor, right? Of like, oh, people talk about IBM or Texas Instruments or something that were the in the past, and then it became the new flavor of the month, and then who's the one that's innovating now. But he challenged everyone to look in the industry and really look at who are the companies that you really need to pay attention to, and read their books, or follow them on social media. Pay attention to what they are saying and what they're not saying. And certainly, we have these companies that are sponsoring this event. I mean, these are companies that they get it, right? And that's what we all need to align ourselves with, the people that get it, with the organizations that get it. That was my takeaway from Ryan is, we all know, if we're really honest with ourselves, what we want to do with our lives, and what's important to us. So let's, align ourselves, align our businesses, align our families with those organizations that really resonate with us. So that was one of my big takeaways from him.
Another company that's the leader in school transportation are our friends at TransFinder. And Antonio Civitella, the CEO and president of TransFinder, gave an amazing talk this morning on navigating 2021, kind of planning for the unplanned. And he walked us through this whole idea of navigate, where N is negotiate, E is evaluate. And I really think that right now, this is something school transportation professionals need to listen to that message more than ever. Fleet optimization is so important, and getting the future kind of set is just, it's imperative as people look at what comes next. And, you know, ultimately, when you look at your solutions for routing, look to do everything you need during COVID. And TransFinder has so many great solutions that they've launched. New partnership with Zonar just announced. Be sure and email TransFinder at marketing@transfinder.com or give them a call at 800-373-3609 to learn more. Ryan, it's just been an amazing event so far. I mean, what were some other sessions you talked about that just really resonated with you? The vaccine, was that a big one for you with our legal eagles from?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of information in there, and it was obviously very legal. But I think things that all student transporters need to have in their toolkit. You know, certainly Katie Anderson, one of our attorneys from Clark Hill PLC, said certainly keep your school attorney on speed dial throughout this whole thing. But you know, yeah. Also, too, you know, earlier this morning, speaking with Katrina Falk from Shelby Eastern Schools in Indiana, where she was talking about the fleet optimization and what that looks like. And, you know, one of the things, you know, we love Katrina. She's a, I always say this, she's a huge consumer of technology. She runs 18 buses, folks. 18. There was a gentleman on that session who asked a question, and maybe it was a later one, I can't recall, but was talking about technology adoption. Oh, I believe he was in Antonio Civitella's TransFinder presentation, and he was marveling at everything that routing software can do. And he said, "Hey, is this something that would work?" And I'm small, so I have a fleet of 35 buses. And I'm thinking, you know, that's twice the size of Katrina's fleet. And, you know, she has just done some amazing things, a real mover and shaker in this industry. You know, so it's always a pleasure to pick her brain and hear her great mind. She's so analytical, and she's just, you know, she just knows, she gets it. She just, you can see you can literally see the gears spinning in her head and crunching the numbers and thinking, how can we do this better? And how can we, you know, utilize technology to improve fuel and you know, maintenance and make the routes more efficient. But also too, she mentioned today, don't forget the people. Because we've talked about this before, where technology is great and technology can do wonders for us, and it is doing wonders for us. And it's an untapped potential, but the best untapped potential that we have is the people. So we can't forget that, and we need to make sure that the decisions that we're making, we're including them, we're bringing them to the table, helping them. Ryan Hahn talked more about that with, you know, providing service and training through an equitable lens. So part 2 of his conversation that he started yesterday. So it's great to see all of these themes just come together, and, you know, from one session to the next, it's like, oh, that's building off of that. And you know, excited to see what day 3 has in store.
Well, Ryan, speaking of the people, I know that we think they're here to see us at the podcast because we're live, right? So, but they're really here for the $100 Amazon gift card giveaway,
Yes.
Right? Round of applause, right? We want to see that. And I want to give a shout out again to our title sponsors, Zonar, our diamond sponsors, TransFinder, REI, and Tyler Technologies. Thank you so much for sponsoring STN EXPO Virtual. We really appreciate you guys, and to all our other sponsors as well. You know, you guys are the leaders of the industry, and thank you for being a part of this wonderful event and sharing with all our attendees and imparting all this great knowledge about the products and services that you have to offer. It's just very powerful stuff. And, you know, so the winners, drum roll, are Donette Wright, Transportation Director, University Place School District. Donette, congratulations.
Washington State. Yeah.
There you go. Big 100 coming to you. And our second winner is Ryan Begay. He is a bus driver from Many Farms Community School. Ryan, congratulations. $100 gift card coming to you. Thanks again for commenting, guys, being really active in the chat. It's all about sharing. Taylor's giving a golf clap. Taylor, what'd you see in the chat today? Any great comments?
I was in the best practices for a new era of driver training with Joshua Heinerman and Leon Lange, and it was really taken off. I mean, people were sharing about their experiences with using technology and training drivers, and how basically you're taking this COVID-19 situation of technology and how it's a bitter fruit, it's a lemon, and you're turning it into lemonade, and how we can use technology to now train drivers in a whole new environment that has never been tapped into before. And it was just super interesting. And the chat was blowing up. People were loving it.
Yeah, driver training is one of those things that, doing it from the cloud. I had interviewed Jeff Castle at the school bus safety company, and he had mentioned that, pretty much the vast majority of his clients have moved to cloud-based training and driver training. And I know Josh was using a different group to do his training in his state in Tennessee. But yeah, no, I think, cloud-based driver training, wave of the future. It's the way they can do it at home at their own leisure. You can track everything, measure everything. There's just something to say about virtual. It's great to be in person, but there are definitely advantages to a virtual environment. And so we are seeing that too with STN EXPO Virtual and bringing everybody this great conference. So yeah, everything's been wonderful. And Ryan, last thoughts before we kind of tie a knot on day two?
I just want to give a shout out to, you mentioned Ryan Begay, Many Farms Community Schools in Eastern Arizona. So I want to get Arizona recognized there, because Donette, of course, was in Washington State. But, really, tomorrow we're going to be, unfortunately, our last day. But, the virtual world, like you mentioned, that we're residing in, it's still with us. We still have a couple tricks up our sleeve for this spring, later this winter or this spring. So be on the lookout for that. Spoiler alert, Transportation Director Summit and Green Bus Summit. So that's coming up in the next couple of months. And hoping, of course, to get back to in-person. But, yes, basically COVID-19 has changed our reality. We are going to be moving forward, even with getting back to in-person. We're going to be doing a couple times a year. We're going to be doing some virtual events, even once we get past this, whenever that is, whatever that magical date is down the road. And just really looking forward to some more great sessions tomorrow, some more networking. We have some great topics lined up for you. I mentioned earlier, ventilation systems on school buses. So we're going to hear from a school district in Alabama that's been running ventilation systems on several, I think about maybe a dozen or so of its buses. Laren will give more information on that from Fort Payne City Schools tomorrow. But that has been running for since the beginning of this school year. So there are solutions that exist right now that can help us move the needle. And we just have to keep the course and continue to learn, continue to get better.
Yeah, I know. We kick off tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We have a Let's Talk discussion with Carlos Chicas, who's the Transportation Director at Capistrano Unified District here in California, on post-pandemic safety. We're doing some morning networking. We also have a few product demos, presentations, and sponsor presentations throughout the day. So really want to invite you to join us. And this wraps up day 2 of our live podcast and STN EXPO Virtual. Thank you to Ryan. Thank you to Taylor for jumping on, sharing with us. We really appreciate you guys. Remember, you can watch all the presentations in the Hop-In platform. And if you aren't at the show, you can visit stnexpovirtual.com. We have some selected presentations available for your viewing pleasure on our website. Also, thanks again to our episode sponsors, TransFinder and Zonar. We appreciate you guys. Join us tomorrow, Wednesday, last day, STN EXPO Virtual. Make sure you check out all the great stories and coverage on STN online.com and all the great takeaways from the show. We appreciate you guys. You can stream or check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, stnpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you, School Transportation Nation. We'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.
Mark it.